Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that might just change how you handle relationships forever. When a man distances himself from you, when he suddenly goes quiet, starts ignoring you, stops calling like he used to, texting becomes rare, and you're left confused, don't panic. Don't chase. Don't beg and please. Don't lose yourself trying to hold on to someone who's clearly letting go. Ladies and gentlemen, when a man pulls away from you, it doesn't always mean something is broken or that you've done something wrong. Sometimes it's a test, not the kind you study for, not the kind you prepare for with notes and books. It's a test of your inner strength, your self-worth, your emotional maturity, and how much power you're willing to hand over to someone else. Because let's face it, relationships aren't just about love and chemistry. They're about balance. They're about understanding where you stand and how much of yourself you're willing to compromise just to keep someone else close. And sometimes when a man pulls away, he's not just trying to figure himself out. He's unconsciously watching how you respond. That moment when he becomes distant, when the calls slow down, when the messages stop coming in, when the energy changes, that's the moment you are being watched, even if he never admits it. He's testing to see if your confidence is real or if it fades the second he steps back. And here's what separates the women who keep their power from the women who lose themselves. Response. Do you chase? Do you panic? Do you start questioning your worth just because he pulled away? Or do you hold your ground, stay centered, and remind yourself that your value doesn't decrease because someone else is confused? You see, there's a quiet strength in not reacting emotionally. There's power in choosing silence instead of chaos. When a man distances himself, it might hurt. It might leave you wondering, doubting, replaying every conversation to figure out what went wrong. But you need to understand that this moment is an invitation to step into your power. This is when you show what you're really made of, not by proving yourself to him, but by proving to yourself that you will not be broken just because someone else isn't consistent. And here's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Most men don't even know they're testing you. It's not always intentional. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's confusion. Sometimes it's their own emotional immaturity. But what they are watching is whether your confidence is something you wear only when you're being adored or something that lives inside you no matter what. A man who pulls away might think he's taking time to figure himself out, but he's also learning how strong you are. When he's not clapping for you, when he's not available, when he's no longer front and center, when you stay still, when you don't beg, when you don't plead, you're telling him something loud and clear. You're saying, I want you here, but I don't need you to breathe. That's power. That's grace. That's knowing who you are and what you bring to the table. It shows you don't measure your worth based on how someone else treats you. Because someone pulling away should never shake your foundation. If it does, you weren't rooted in confidence. You were surviving off attention. Let him pull away. Let him have his space. But don't let that space turn into self-doubt for you. Don't internalize his absence as your failure. It's not. It's a mirror being held up to show you how much you love yourself, how you handle uncertainty, and how much value you place on peace over chaos. Ladies and gentlemen, if you crumble every time someone steps back, then they hold the pen to your story. But when you stay strong, calm, and centered, you take that pen back. You become the author again. And believe me, there is nothing more attractive, more powerful, and more unforgettable than a woman who knows her worth, even in silence. Because when a man distances himself, he's not always looking for space. Sometimes he's unconsciously asking, how much of yourself are you willing to lose just to keep me around? And your answer should be simple, none of it. Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every woman's life when she has to choose between chasing someone who's pulling away or standing still and letting silence do the talking. And I want you to understand something that will save you from so much pain. Don't chase him. Don't chase any man who begins to ignore you, withdraw from you, or act like you no longer matter. Because the moment you chase, you give him all the power. The moment you try to force connection where there's only distance, you put your value in his hands. And that is not where it belongs. When a man starts pulling away, when the messages turn cold, when the attention starts fading, the urge to reach out, to fix it, to explain yourself, to ask what's wrong, it feels natural, but natural doesn't always mean right, because what you're really doing in that moment is betraying your own inner voice, the part of you that knows something's off. The part of you that senses that if someone wants you in their life, you shouldn't have to beg for a space in it. That's where silence comes in. That's where real strength lives. Your silence isn't weakness. Your silence is power. Your silence is a boundary that says, I am not going to participate in being ignored. It's your way of saying, if you want to walk away, I'm not going to stop you, but I'm also not going to follow you. See, ladies and gentlemen, when you chase someone who's drifting away, you're confirming that their distance controls you. You're showing them that they can retreat and you'll come running. That's not love. That's imbalance. Men notice silence more than they notice tears. They hear it loud because they expect reaction. They expect you to blow up their phone, to over-explain, to fight for the connection. But when they get nothing, no call, no text, no desperation, that's when they stop and think. That's when they realize they're not in control of the situation. That's when your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. And this is not about playing games. This is about dignity. This is about honoring your own heart. If he can ignore you and you keep chasing, what are you really telling him? You're saying, it's okay to treat me like I'm not important. I'll still be here. But when you stay silent, when you don't fight to keep someone who's not fighting for you, that silence says, I love myself too much to beg for attention. And that message is powerful. When a man feels your silence, when he doesn't hear from you, when he feels your energy shift, he starts to question, he starts to remember your presence. He starts to feel the difference between your warmth and your distance. And if he truly cared, if he truly valued you, that silence will make him uncomfortable enough to act. But if he stays gone, if your silence is met with more silence, then you got your answer and you didn't even have to say a word. Ladies and gentlemen, silence is a filter. It shows you who's willing to close the gap and who's willing to live with the distance. It teaches people how to treat you. And the more you use your silence wisely, the more you protect your peace, the more you teach the world that you don't fight for crumbs. You wait for the whole table or you walk away. So when a man starts acting like he doesn't care, don't convince him to care. Don't start proving your worth. Don't lose sleep wondering what you did wrong. Instead, pull back, hold your energy, breathe, and let your silence speak, because a woman who chooses silence over begging is a woman who has already won. And trust me, that's the kind of woman a man never forgets. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you one thing that will change the way you view yourself in any relationship. A man will only respect you to the level that you respect yourself. And one of the fastest ways to lose that respect is by begging for attention from someone who's already showing you he's not willing to give it. A woman who knows her worth doesn't chase. She doesn't plead. She doesn't try to earn the love of someone who's making her question her value. She stands tall even in silence because she knows that her dignity is worth more than someone's inconsistent affection. There's something incredibly powerful about a woman who doesn't break down just because a man pulls away. It's easy to stay calm when someone's loving you, giving you attention, showing up for you. But the real test of self-respect comes when things get quiet, when the calls stop, when the texts go unanswered, when the energy changes and you feel yourself slipping into confusion. That's the moment where most women start doubting themselves. They start asking, what did I do wrong? They start shrinking, overthinking, and chasing someone who's not even looking back. But a woman who respects herself doesn't do that. She doesn't beg for love. She doesn't bargain for time. She doesn't make herself smaller just to fit into someone else's fading interest. She recognizes the silence, she feels the distance, and instead of panicking, she pauses because she knows that her peace is worth protecting. And if a man is willing to risk losing her by pulling away, then he better be ready to live with the consequences, because she's not the kind of woman who waits around hoping to be chosen. You see, when you respect yourself, you stop trying to convince others of your worth. You stop explaining why you deserve love, attention, commitment, or consistency. You stop justifying your needs because you know that real love doesn't require constant reminders. A man who truly values you won't need to be told to show up. He just will. And if he doesn't, you won't beg. You'll let go, not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself too much to stay where you're not valued. When you stop chasing and start choosing yourself, something amazing happens. You begin to attract people who match your energy. You stop feeling drained. You stop being anxious. You stop living in fear of someone leaving because you're no longer afraid to be alone. You're afraid of being with someone who makes you feel alone. And that shift, that quiet confidence, it's magnetic. Men feel it. They respect it. And the right one won't test it. He'll honor it. There's nothing wrong with wanting love, attention, or connection. That's human. But how you go about it, that's where self-respect comes in. You don't scream for love. You don't beg for replies. You don't lose your voice just to keep someone in your life. You speak with your actions. You show through your behavior that you will never settle for being half loved or half seen. You either get the whole of someone or nothing at all. Ladies and gentlemen, a man might not say it out loud, but he watches how you treat yourself. He notices if you crumble the second he pulls away. He sees if you start chasing or if you stand still and let your silence speak for you. And whether he comes back or not, that self-respect you held on to, that's what he'll remember. Because nothing is more unforgettable than a woman who never begged, never pleaded, and never lost her dignity. Even in the face of emotional distance, that kind of woman doesn't just demand respect, she naturally commands it. Ladies and gentlemen, when a man begins to pull away, when he starts distancing himself, ignoring your calls, texting less, changing his tone, or becoming emotionally unavailable, it's easy to feel like everything is slipping through your fingers. But what if I told you that moment, yes, the one that makes your heart sink, can actually be your greatest opportunity? Not to win him back, not to chase him down, but to recenter yourself, to take back your emotional control. Because when someone steps back, you don't lose control. You take it back. Most people panic when they feel someone withdrawing. They rush into reaction mode. They send long texts, ask questions, demand clarity. But all that does is give away your power. Because emotional control is not about controlling another person's behavior, it's about controlling your own responses. When he pulls away, that's not your signal to fall apart. That's your moment to pause, breathe, and reflect. It's your chance to stop focusing on him and turn inward. Ask yourself, what do I need right now to feel secure? What do I need to reconnect with my peace? You can't force someone to stay connected to you, but you can use their distance as space to connect back with yourself. Maybe you were so invested in that relationship that you started neglecting your own emotional needs. Maybe you stopped doing the things that bring you joy. Maybe you were making him your center, and now that he's pulling away, your world feels like it's falling apart. That's the wake-up call. That's the sign that it's time to recenter. You are not meant to orbit around another person. You are meant to stand strong in your own space. And when someone pulls back, it's not always a punishment. Sometimes it's a reset. Sometimes it's the perfect time for you to get real with yourself and ask, was I depending on his presence to feel good about myself? Because if the answer is yes, then the distance is a gift in disguise. It gives you a moment to detach emotionally and reclaim your stability. When you're emotionally grounded, someone else's behavior doesn't shake you. It might hurt, yes. It might confuse you, but it doesn't destroy you. Why? Because you've already made peace your priority. You've already built that strength within yourself. Emotional control isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about acknowledging them without letting them run your life. It's about understanding that someone else's distance is not a reflection of your worth. It's about realizing that your emotional state doesn't have to depend on their presence. The most powerful people are not the ones who never feel anything. They're the ones who know how to feel without falling apart. They're the ones who know how to take a step back when things get loud, when emotions get heavy, when confusion sets in. That distance, that silence, use it. Use it to write, to think, to pray, to journal, to walk, to meditate. Use it to get back in touch with yourself. Because the more you pour into yourself, the less desperate you'll feel for someone else's energy. When a man pulls away, he's not taking your peace with him. That belongs to you. And the more you practice staying calm, staying composed, and staying present in your own life, the more control you gain over your reactions. That's the strength that sets you apart. That's what makes you powerful, because most people panic when they feel disconnected, but you pause. You realign. You don't chase, you choose yourself. And that choice changes everything. Ladies and gentlemen, when a man starts pulling away, when he goes quiet, when he stops showing up the way he used to, I know how painful that feels. You start wondering what happened, what changed, what you did wrong. But here's what I want you to understand. If he truly values you, if he truly sees your worth, your absence won't go unnoticed. It will echo in his life louder than your presence ever did. And when that silence hits him, it won't confuse him. It will clarify everything for him. See, sometimes when people have constant access to your love, your time, your energy, they start taking it for granted. They get comfortable. They think you'll always be there, no matter how they act. But the moment you step back, the moment you stop showing up for someone who's not showing up for you, something powerful begins to happen. Your absence starts doing the talking. It starts reminding him of who you were to him. It starts forcing him to sit with the emptiness your presence used to fill. A man who values you will not stay comfortable in that silence. He'll feel it. He'll feel the loss of your laughter, your support, your attention, and the way you made his life lighter. And it's not just about missing you. It's about realizing what he risked losing. Your absence becomes the wake-up call. It shakes him out of the emotional fog. It makes him think, not just about you, but about the way he treated you, the way he showed up, and what he failed to give. And I want you to really understand this. If a man pulls away and stays gone, if your absence doesn't move him, if the space you created doesn't stir anything inside him, then he didn't value you the way you thought he did. And as painful as that truth may be, it is still a blessing, because it saves you from wasting more time in a one-sided relationship. It saves you from pouring your love into someone who couldn't hold it. But on the other side, if he really sees who you are, if he truly appreciates what you brought into his life, then the distance won't be permanent. He'll come back, and not just casually, not with weak excuses or half-hearted messages. He'll come back with clarity. He'll come back with changed behavior. He'll come back because he wants to, not because you begged or pleaded. He'll return because your absence made him realize the value of your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why it's so important not to chase someone who's pulling away. Let them feel what life is like without you. Let them sit in their silence and figure out if your love was something they were truly ready for. Because the one who truly cares will not stay away. He'll reach out. He'll apologize. He'll want to rebuild trust and connection. And he'll do it because he realized that your love is not something he can replace. Don't fear the silence. Don't fear the space. Let it work for you. Let it reveal what's real and what's not. You don't need to force clarity. You don't need to beg someone to see you. If they're meant to be in your life, they will come back on their own, clearer, better, and more appreciative. And if they don't, then their silence was your answer. Because someone who truly values you won't just feel your absence, they'll come back determined never to lose you again. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most powerful lessons you will ever learn in your life is this. You teach people how to treat you. Whether you realize it or not, your silence,